For me, it is a great privilege to say a few words on this occasion because I've had the good fortune to be associated with Tech for Seva last year when we had a very, very large event in Pune, and I made it a point to come here in Hyderabad because the objective of Tech for Seva, which is obvious that we have to bring technology, bring advanced capability for the benefit of the country, is a very noble objective. And I think every one of us who see ourselves as proud Indians, part of a community which is positive, optimistic, aspiring, would like to be associated with Tech for Seva. So I would again like to congratulate, first of all, Tech for Seva for bringing this event to Hyderabad and making sure it gets an opportunity to be experienced and to really be of value to Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Let me give you a few thoughts on what I think is required in our country. I think today all of us are feeling extremely positive. We have a very strong Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, at the center. We have a strong new government in Telangana. So I think everywhere you go in India, the environment is of great positivity. And this is important because today we are in a country which is one of the few countries which is feeling positive about the future. As all of us know, there are problems in Russia, there are problems in various parts of Europe, which is threatening to slip into a recession. America is slowly coming out, but the politics of America is quite a problem at this point of time. So if there is one oasis of excellence that can really lead the way for generations, for the future to be successful, I think it is India. As all of us know, we have a tradition of leading the way in culture, in religion, in spirituality, in the whole concept of seva. But somewhere I think in the last 30, 40 years, we have lost the ability to lead. And fortunately, I come from a sector which has actually made Hyderabad very successful, which is information technology. And in IT, we have discovered that Indian capabilities are still very, very strong. And in fact, today we have over 50% market share in technology outsourcing worldwide. So there are sectors where we continue to do well. But what has happened in the past maybe few decades is that some divisions have begun to happen in our country. The corporate sector has continued to be very strongly focused on making revenues and profits because that is, after all, the demand of our shareholders. The social sector has continued to do extremely good work. In fact, yesterday I was speaking at the Livelihoods Asia Summit in Delhi, and I was delighted to find the quality of work being done by many, many NGOs in the livelihood sector. Education, of course, which is the crying need for this country, because we have so many young people in this country, it is imperative that we give them the skills to be employable, to be successful as in the community. So that's beginning to happen. And of course, government, which for some time was, I think, at a little distance from reality, but government is now saying that, look, let us make things happen. So the three major constituents of nation building, which is the society at large, civil society, the government and the corporate sector, have been taking some parallel paths in the last few years. And the opportunity, I think, is for us, through Tech for Seva, through many initiatives, to bring these together. What can a coming together really make? What is the difference it can make? Today, if you look at the key initiatives that have been announced in the nation, which was mentioned by the previous speaker also, whether you take the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, whether you take the initiative that we at NASSCOM Foundation are very proud to be part of, which is the Digital Saksharta Abhiyan, which is what we call the National Digital Literacy Mission, or indeed whether it is other initiatives like smart cities and so many other areas that have been introduced, I think there is a desire to make this available to every aspect, every citizen of the country. In fact, the Prime Minister has gone on record saying that Digital India does not mean more technology, more cyber cities. It actually means where every citizen of the country, I mean each one of our crores of people, has access to government, access to improvement through technology. And in fact, what we are trying to do in NASSCOM Foundation is to implement, along with the Ministry of IT, you will hear the Minister tomorrow, this vision of making Digital India happen. And Digital India will be successful only when, not when there are thousands of electronics manufacturing companies in India. That is, of course, a logical outcome. not when every mobile phone made in the country is of Indian origin, which is also one desire of the Prime Minister. But when every member of every family, or at least one member of every family in this country, and there are roughly 220 million families, at least one member has to be digitally literate. What does digitally literate mean? It means that if you're a fisherman's son, the ability to, maybe through a phone, understand when the high tides are happening, so that the fishermen should not go out in the sea at that point of time. If you're a farmer's son, to be able to access where seeds are available in the most cost-effective manner, getting information that makes you more successful in your living. How can livelihoods be improved through technology? This is the National Digital Literacy Mission. Similarly, if you look at an experiment that some of us are trying in one of the western states, we are saying that, look, technology is available to all the large companies, that's never a problem. But if you're an SME or a micro SME, I mean, you really have maybe a 2 crore business and you still want to avail the best of technology, you're not going to go out and buy a large computer or an SAP, etc. So we're trying to work with government to say, how can we set up a complete cloud platform where for maybe as little as 7,000 rupees per month, the SME manufacturer is able to avail the best technology? Or how can a farmer through his mobile phone access the cloud solution and get information? How can a small school, maybe set up in a rural part of the state, have access to the same content, same classroom capability that is available to the large schools or the private schools in Hyderabad or anywhere else? So this, ladies and gentlemen, is my definition of a truly digital India. And as I mentioned earlier, this will happen if everybody feels positive. I mean, there was a time, I think 10 years ago, when there was a positivism in the country, okay, when people felt that, I mean, if you remember India shining, but India was shining only for a few people. A shining India means it must shine for the last person in the civilization that is waiting below the poverty line. I was privileged that I grew up not in the city of Mumbai or Delhi or Hyderabad or Pune, but I actually grew up in what was then the most backward state of the country, Bihar. In fact, my father was running a small factory in a little village called Tatisilvai, which is one of the most backward villages, 12 kilometers from Ranchi in what is now Jharkhand. And for me, joy was being able to play with all the village children. So we never had this concept of rich and poor, nothing like that. And I mean, in fact, I'm delighted to find Swamiji here, because my father was a very active contributor to the Ramakrishna Mission. And in fact, he set up a Seva Kendra in the village of Tatisilvai, which was fully supported by the Ramakrishna Mission. And the opportunity there was to interact with everybody in society and say, how can we grow together? All of you would have heard Kailash Satyarthi's speech when he received the Nobel Peace Prize. And the most interesting part of his speech was when he talked about going to school and finding a young boy outside his school who said that, look, all I'm aspiring for is one toy and one book. And the point, ladies and gentlemen, is how can we be successful? How can we be happy if we allow 800 million Indians to feel left behind? And I think that is the agenda, hopefully, that all of us are addressing. And throughout my career, I've found that, look, you can be very successful in the corporate sector. Today, my company, Zensar Technologies, is doing extremely well. But the real success of Zensar is not the profits we make, is not the revenues we make, but it is what we call the triple bottom line agenda, which is profits plus people plus planet. And only when you can show the triple bottom line and say that, look, we have succeeded in all these parameters, can we count ourselves as successful corporate citizens. I am one of the few people in this country who are delighted by the 2% law introduced by the government. It's not that 2% is all you should do or should you do something else, etc., etc. But at least it is forcing a debate saying how can we do better for India, for the real India. And I think if corporate sector realizes its responsibility, protects the environment, builds sustainable organizations, and all that is enabled through technology, works for the citizens in causes that you're going to discuss today, whether it is healthcare, whether it is education, whether it is livelihood creation, and works together with the civil society to make it happen, then we'll be successful. I'm going to conclude by saying I see tremendous optimism. Okay, I see lots of my colleagues in the corporate sector wanting to do genuine good. I see institutions like NASSCOM Foundation, which has this agenda called Tech for Good, which is very similar to Tech for Seva, and we are trying to explore every possibility. We are working with the disabled, we are working with social responsibility forums, we are working with the corporate sector, looking at how CSR money can go into skills development in the villages and small towns. And I think that's one big initiative which we are doing in NASSCOM. Similarly, I think we're seeing multiple entities, including government and quasi-government agencies, who are willing to come to the party. So I think there is no better time for Tech for Seva to be held here. I would sincerely hope that at the end of these 2 days of deliberations, discussions, workshops, a lot of networking happens. All of you have a chance to meet each other and say, this is what I'm doing. And I remember last time in Tech for Seva, at the first night dinner, I had an opportunity to sit with 4 or 5 extremely interesting people. You know, a person who was running a home for the destitute in Mumbai, another person who was more worried about the fate of the young girl child in a village when nobody else is there at home. And all these are great initiatives which can be enabled. I mean, today we have this unfortunate reality which all of you have read about, this Uber car, okay, that the driver and the incident in Delhi. But the point is not what happened in Delhi. The point is, can we implement a technology environment in our country where no driver who has a criminal record will be able to drive a car again? And not just the responsibility of Uber. I'm not a supporter of Uber, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying it is a joint responsibility. How can we sit together and say we'll blame one company when the infrastructure has not been provided in this country? So that is, I think, digital India will mean security, will mean livelihoods, will mean stability, and make that happen. But the last point I want to make is, ladies and gentlemen, we have to do this together. It is not one person, it is not the government's responsibility, it is not corporate responsibility, it is not civil society's responsibility. If we work together, we can be successful. And there is no better saying I can leave you with than the very famous words of Swami Vivekananda: arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Thank you very much.